Colin. These are the options. Act like a boss when I can be. These are the options. Used to be employee, now these are the options. I gotta make it to make it. I gotta make it to make it. Woo.
Hello, I'm your co-host Digitaljeff, and welcome to the Colin with Colin show, where you get to call in from anywhere in the world and ask Colin Wayne some questions. On the first episode, we got the one and only Rob Perry. You might not know or heard of him because he's the guy behind the scenes. He was a former cop turned into one of the top media buyers in the world. He's an online social media marketing guru. And he's got some questions today that are not really pertaining to business, but they're pertaining to what's happening today in society, in our community. So I wanted to make sure I bring Rob on the show. Rob, welcome. You're on the show. What is your first question?
Just had a couple of questions for you today. My brother is serving in the military as an MP, and I know that you also were in the Army as an MP as well. He's currently overseas, dealing with everything over there at the moment. What advice would you have for somebody like that over there, especially with their first deployment? Because I believe you've done 3 tours. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I've done 3 tours of duty. So first off, if next time you talk to your brother, tell him I said thanks for his service. And MPs lead the way, which is kind of our slogan with being a military police officer. So my advice for anybody that's first deploying, it's going to be different. Like when I went to Iraq, it was completely different than Afghanistan. The terrain, the environment, everything. The deployment to Egypt for Operation Bright Star was completely different. With it being 2021, the drawdown, now we've ended officially the war. He's at a very challenging time where there's unknowns and variables that I never endured. I would say typically, if it's a normal deployment, is to find something that can help you pass the time. So for me, it was like working out, and that was kind of my challenge to myself. Some people picked up like playing guitar, some people played video games, something that's kind of getting your mind off of war in general. My advice to someone in today's state, like your brother that's overseas, is, we said this when I did over 100 plus combat missions, complacency kills. And so what I mean by that is the minute that you continue to do the same thing over and over and over again, you start to become consciously and then subconsciously not aware of your surroundings. You're not as concerned because nothing has happened before. But be vigilant. Be aware of everything and trust what you can see and honestly what you can't. Iraq, it was a different type of warfighter that we were fighting against. It was more of guerrilla warfare. It was VBIDs, vehicle-borne IEDs. They would plant IEDs into cows. They would put them in tires on the side of the road. Think of like MSR Tampa was a highway that ran between Kuwait and all the way past Iraq and past Baghdad. I would go up and down this highway, and there was a lot of there was constant concerns. And what I would just say is be vigilant. At the end of the day, he's who knows. Honestly, nobody really knows how long at this point he's going to be over there. My assumption is he hasn't been over there too long with this drawdown, everything happening, at least at today's era. Today, as we're filming this, it's September 8th, I think, 2021. So with what's going on, it's a little bit challenging, but just complacency kills, so be vigilant, be aware, and we're praying for all the troops over there right now. So
100%. No, that's awesome. I'm excited to share this with him because I think that will mean a lot. It'll probably mean a lot to the guys that he's with as well. You kind of mentioned some of the, kind of different threats that you dealt with over there. You mentioned IEDs and cows and tires and on the side of the road. Something I've heard a lot about, and I'm very curious of what he's experiencing over there, is sort of the terrain in that area. I know Afghanistan is very mountainous. So what was your experience with that over there? And how did that change the way in which you guys, operated?
Yeah, great question, man. So Iraq was super flat. We drove Humvees, up armored 1151s from place to place. In Afghanistan, we flew into Bagram, which Bagram they shut down, and I think that was one of the dumbest mistakes the military could have made is shutting down Bagram, which is the largest base in Afghanistan to get people in and out. So handing that over is absolutely horrible. But the biggest challenge was logistically getting from place to place wasn't as easy as just driving a truck. So everything had to be done by primarily like Blackhawks and Apaches and different helicopters, Chinooks, to go from place to place. I never went from base to base in a Humvee. It was always flying because it is so mountainous. What most people don't think about, they hear war in the Middle East, they associate Iraq and Afghanistan to that same war in the Middle East. Afghanistan's actually not even in the Middle East technically. It's a part of Asia. So Afghanistan is extremely cold. When I was there in early 2012, it was one of the worst winters that they had ever seen in like 30 years. And in the month of January, they only had 11 flights that could come into to Bagram, which means coming in or like going to another base. I would say like the terrain is, a lot of people have heard about fighting seasons in Afghanistan. That terminology in Iraq didn't really exist. The reason is Afghanistan is so mountainous and cold, and it's hard to move from place to place, that the fighting seasons were basically when the ice melted, they would go from Pakistan into Afghanistan and start fighting. You know, that is their fighting season. Now, where I was in a small province called Paktika, which is right on the Pakistan border, you could see the mountains from where I was. Like the challenge that we had was even during winter, when it's not a fighting season, they're right on that border, and they would just shoot rockets into our base all the time. We went like 42 days straight of being rocketed. Our base was very small. We had only like 92 people on the base total, 2 platoons and some support. And our base got overran twice while I was there, like Taliban on our side of the wire. They shut down the base. It was very dangerous. We had, I think 9 people get killed total, which you think 92 people, it's almost 10%. It's crazy. So, but I would say like the war fighters, I mentioned that a few minutes ago between the difference of Iraq and Afghanistan. What I've noticed is Afghanistan, they don't give a they do not care. They'll attack your base and just pull out a pistol and shoot you in the head. It happened on my base to a captain that was there, and I don't want to go into it. I met his kids and his wife, and it put like another perspective for me about, you know, when you know somebody and you know now you meet their family for the first time, and they're his son and his daughters having to raise up without him, man, that hits home. It's a different type of person that you're fighting when they really don't give a shit about themselves and they're willing to die for this cause. The difference was Iraq was pop shots, you know, around a corner, or you're fighting blind because they'll remote detonate a bomb when it goes off. The other one, Afghanistan, is like they will run, at least where I was, they'll go right into your base and start attacking you. They'll have a VBID, vehicle-borne IED, blow up the front gate, and then just start charging in. Like you're going old school militia, and it's nuts. That's the biggest difference that I saw personally between Iraq and Afghanistan. But again, everybody's going to have kind of different stories on their deployments. The challenge is the terrain, and based on where you're located in Afghanistan, winter months are going to be a lot less as deadly, and then spring, summer, pretty bad.
Yeah, no, that's some good context in the area, and like the difference between the two. We were just out of the loop as a family of exactly where he's located. So just to understand the different kind of threats that he deals with on a daily basis, just it makes you pray that they return home safely, but it kind of makes you respect everything they're dealing with a lot more, puts things in perspective here at home. So just to kind of, not that I want to continue or stray away too far from that path, but you kind of have talked a lot about the different challenges you faced over there, and the different threats. Obviously, right now you run Redline Steel. How has your military experience helped prep you for the combat on the day to day of being an entrepreneur and a business owner?
Yeah, so I love that question. And I would say, like, without the military, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I think that it instilled a lot of just core values that we've been able to put directly into my business, Redline Steel, from the type of leadership that I want to hire and make sure that we lead from the front and we're not above it. In the military, I got to learn from some incredible leaders, and I had some shitty ones too. And both taught you something. Both taught me what I don't want to be like. I don't want this type of person that's toxic in my environment, in my leadership group. And then it taught me the opposite of, let me take these characteristics and traits and apply them to my business. So I would say, just from a military like combat side, it's kind of fight or flight. That's entrepreneurship. That's business. Like highs, lows, beyond ground level lows. Are you gonna charge, into whatever's coming your way, or are you going to hide? The first challenge that comes at you, that's really going to be the determining factor if you're successful or not. Can you overcome that obstacle? Can you combat that challenge? Can you think outside of the box to make sure that that fight or flight mode, survival mode, is 100% like there? Because as an entrepreneur, it's whatever it takes mentality. If that means I've got to work 7 days a week with fourth quarter coming around the corner, no weekends off till probably January, I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to sacrifice, just like your brother is overseas right now. He's willing to sacrifice for a bigger cause. I'm willing to sacrifice everything for a much larger cause. And really just crafting something from concept to reality for me has been a humbling and fun journey and experience. Like I volunteered for all of my tours of duty. I volunteered, right, as an entrepreneur to start my own company, but without the help of other people. I didn't go and get a board of advisors. I didn't go and bring on venture capital funding. I've bootstrapped everything to where it is today. And that's just been from a massive leap of faith and not being afraid to take on anything that comes my way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I would imagine without, having that military experience and that, get through, survive at all costs, it has paid dividends while starting and running Redline.
Yeah, it has, man, and it makes you that much stronger. I think when you can look back and say, I made it through this, I can make it through anything. It's like it's an identity shift. It's a mindset shift that is taught over time, because as you get older, you're endured with more challenges. Doesn't even have to be entrepreneurship. It's just life. Life kicks you in the balls. What are you going to do? You're just going to sit on the floor and suck it up, or you're going to go grab some ice and drink water, drive on, rub some dirt in it. So,
that's all right.
I got a question for you though, man. So let me ask you this. If you were to die tomorrow, what do you want to be remembered for?
Oh man, that's a great question. I would say I'd want to be remembered for the way in which I approached every day of my life in the idea of service. Kind of similar to I'm sure it's similar to the military background, but I have a little bit of a law enforcement background, and that was the first passion. Just through injuries and surgeries, wasn't able to kind of pursue that. But I've always grown up in a civil service family, and I found marketing, which is what I'm doing right now, to kind of fill that gap for me. in that idea of helping serve other people and help them achieve their dreams. That's kind of what helps me sleep at night. And I kind of take that approach to every aspect of my life, whether it be, my career, my new wife, just everything. I try to always be in service to others, because I know one of the biggest lessons that I was taught in law enforcement and that police academy I was in is, if I took care of the person next to me and they in turn took care of me, I never had to take care of myself. And I totally believe that to be true. I think we've actually talked before on the idea that you give more than you receive, and everything, will come back to you. And that's kind of how I approach life, and that's what I'd like to be remembered for.
Amen, brother. I love it. Well, thanks for being on the show. Appreciate it. Rob Perry, the marketing guru, also incredible at Facebook ads. And thank you for all you do. I know from a service standpoint, he was on his honeymoon and he was still reaching out to me to make sure that everything's good to go. So, man, I appreciate you, and thanks again for being on the show.
100%. I appreciate it too. Thanks, brother.
Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video with your friends. And every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, a new episode drops. Also, you can be on the show. If you go to invite.millionairecreator.com, you can apply. It's free, and you may have a chance to be on the show with me, Colin with Colin. Be sure to share this video, and if you do, we may reshare your post. Also, if you enjoy entrepreneurship just like I do, I would encourage you to go to our new website, millionairecreator.com. We have some incredible products, from steel merchandise, canvas, apparel, and education courses, ebooks, and physical books. So guys, millionairecreator.com, check it out for yourself. I know you'll love it, especially for all of those entrepreneurs out there.
I cannot fit in the boxes. Stop it, quitting was never an option. Exhausted,